Get you some,
sorry.
get you something to drink.
You guys mind if you use Mountain Dew or water?
No, that's great. Yeah.
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 I apologize for being dick.
I tell you what, you were not. You weren't being. Okay. I completely understand your position. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to at least talk to you for a little bit. Okay. And if you want to stop talking, of course that's your right, and we're not going to force you to continue talking to us. Okay. But I do appreciate that. It's very gentlemanlike of you to come over here and at least give us an opportunity to ask a few questions. Okay. So as soon as this is my Captain Darkkirk.
Hi there.
How you doing, Darkkirk?
Good.
I'm Rich Fletcher. I don't know if I gave you my name. I told you where I was from over at the jail, but I didn't tell you my name. So.
Fletcher. All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You guys good?
I'm good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let me help you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, as we briefly discussed over at the jail, I did listen to your interview yesterday that you had with Detective Wilson a couple days ago, and I do appreciate your willingness to come in and talk about what happened, because it really not only helps the family, but it seems like it's helped you quite a bit to get it off your chest. So that's an advantage for both of us, I think. So, if it's okay with you, I'd kind of like to just start by just kind of recapping what you talked about the other day. Is that okay? And the only reason I want to do that is just because I want to make sure I want to be clear, since I'm talking to you here in person, that's what you intended to talk about. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. So during the interview, you discussed leaving Utah and flying over to Portland.
That's correct.
Okay. And it was towards middle of August that you flew there?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So again, this is your handwritten note, correct?
It is.
Okay. So back in August of 1994, you flew over to Portland. Do you remember what airline you flew?
I don't.
Okay. Had you flown much at that point in time?
No.
In your life?
I had never flown in my life, except for, I don't think I had flown in my life at that point.
Were you working here?
I was.
Okay. Where were you working?
At Horseshoe Express Trucking Company.
Were you a truck driver, or?
No, I was washing diesels.
Okay. So were you laid off then, or were you still employed when you left here?
I don't know, to be honest. Actually, that might have not have been the time that I was employed there, because I was in Orange Street like a few different times. So I might not have been employed there at that time, but I believe I was. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I understand. And you flew out to Portland with who?
A guy named Scott.
And who's Scott?
He was one of my friends.
Is he still around?
I'm not sure. Where is that?
Did he live here with you in Utah?
Yeah, he was in Orange Street halfway house with me.
Okay. Do you know how old he is?
He's probably 3 years older than me, maybe 2 years older than me, so he'd be like 46 or 47 now.
Okay. Do you have any family around here, or I assumed you talked to him quite a bit since he was your buddy.
I don't know. I know he had an uncle that lived here, and that's all I know.
What was it? Do you know his name?
I don't.
Okay. So what made you guys decide to go to Portland?
We had a friend, Randy, that had a cousin that lived in Kelso that said that we could stay up there with them.
And was Randy from here also?
I think he's originally from Washington.
Oh, okay. So do you know if he's still up there, or?
I don't know. I haven't seen him for probably maybe 12 years.
Okay.
Saw him briefly once, maybe 12 or 14 years ago.
Where
It was in the Utah State Prison. Just barely passing. I saw him by the window. It would have been more like maybe 15 years ago, I think.
And he told you that he had some cousins up in Kelso or Washington that you could stay with. So did you say like you wanted to go up there and like hang out, or I mean, how'd that arrangement come about?
We didn't have a place to stay. Like we were gonna Oh, we got dirty urines at stupid, like something not petty, like a dirty urine at the halfway house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were gonna run away or whatever. And so we absconded from the halfway house, and he said that his cousin would have let us stay there. I don't know,
Okay. So how did you get your plane ticket? Did you guys have money, or did someone buy it for you?
Yeah, we had a little bit of money. Like I got my last check, and Scott got his last check.
Okay. So you got into Portland mid-August, and who picked you up from Portland?
It was Randy's cousin and her husband, or her, I don't know if they were married, either her husband or her boyfriend.
And you said it was Cal and
Sue.
Cal and Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what their last names are?
I don't know.
Okay. What did they pick you up in? Do you remember that?
I don't remember the specific car, but it was, seems like it was an older, like one of them boat cars, kind of, not a boat car, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
It's like a big sedan, big four-door car.
Yeah.
So, so they picked you up, and I assume drove you up to Kelso.
Yeah.
Do you know where they live? Like Longview, out in the county, or in Kelso somewhere?
I don't
Not sure.
remember.
Don't remember.
I don't remember.
So you stayed with them for a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you stay with them?
Probably maybe 7 or 10 days, maybe, or somewhere between maybe 7 and 10 days.
Okay. So how long did you intend to stay with them?
I don't know, indefinitely, or I don't know.
You're just going
I
to
was
obtain residency up there and just stay there?
more or less, but then I don't know. I don't seem to like get along well with people apparently for very long periods of time. So I was just going to come back home, and they dropped me off by a place where the train comes by, and I was going to try to jump on the train, but it went by too fast every time. There's no way I could have jumped on that train.
Okay. So, did you have like a disagreement with them or something, or why did you leave their house and go down and stay in the shop?
It was
by the shed.
It wasn't a misagreement. It was me. Like I have a difficult time getting along with people, and so I told them I had to leave, and they were like fine with that, and yeah. So it was like a mutual thing.
So you just left on foot then?
They dropped me off by the train, by where the train goes by the river, by a river.
Okay. Did you have were you on foot, or did you have a bicycle, or?
On foot.
Did you ever have a bicycle? Did you ever find a bicycle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And any other transportation other than by foot?
No, not until I stole Mr. Bushy's car.
Okay. So they dropped you off at the train depot, and you obviously walked from there. How far do you think you walked? Did you walk around for a couple days, or was it the same day that you found the shop?
I think it was like 2 days.
Okay. Where did you stay for those 2 days?
In the bushes by the river.
Okay. So when you left the river then to go, and you ultimately ended up at Bob's property, what took you there?
I was smoking cocaine with this guy, and I got all paranoid that he was going to beat me up.
Do you remember who that was?
I don't.
Okay, just a
No.
guy on the river?
Yeah.
Okay. So you left him then, and then just happened upon this property?
I was running through bushes. I don't know. I thought like all of a sudden him and a bunch of people were chasing me, and I was really like paranoid that they were going to attack me or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just running through all these bushes, and then I stopped somewhere to listen, and I laid there for a long time. Seems like it would not have been like overnight, all the way overnight. But then I got up and started walking again. And that's when I encountered at that shop.
Okay. So you talked about a big shop, a big shed-like shop, and then you talked about a house and a travel trailer, and a big box fan truck kind of a thing, and then a red car. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had mentioned, I think during the interview, that you had entered a shop, the big metal shop first.
It was a wood shop. Like, I think it was made out of wood.
Could it have been metal, or you just don't remember?
Maybe it could have been, but I don't think it was.
So it was a pretty good size, right? Pretty big. Okay. And what did you do inside the shop there?
I just walked around looking at stuff, and then I was going to steal some stuff out of there. So I put it by a door, by a sliding door, and then and that's it, and that's all well I did in there.
So if I showed you,
Just a quick clarifying question. How did you get into the shop?
I think through a side, like there was a door that you could slide out a little bit or something.
Was that unlocked?
I think that was. I honestly don't remember. I don't think it was unlocked.
so if I showed you a picture of the shop, do you think you would recognize it?
More than likely, I would imagine I would.
Was there any refrigeration in there? Any
Not that I know of.
fridge, freezer, or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
But you said there was some other property in there. What kind of property?
Like all kinds of camping equipment and shop equipment and like tools and things like that.
Is that where you got his tools that you ended up taking eventually? Okay. So the welder and the Dremel and the skilly side, it was called power saws or something.
And the what?
Power saws or skill saws or something. Didn't you see you took a couple of those too?
It seems like I took some other power tools, but I don't remember what they were.
But that's where they came from, was the shop. Okay. And you stayed there for?
I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days.
Okay. At what point did you finally decide to go over? I mean, if you were in that shop, you kind of knew that someone was staying in that travel trailer then, because it was close by. It was only 30, 40 yards away, maybe. Is that about right? So you knew someone was coming and going from the travel trailer.
I didn't know that they were living in there at the time, but then I came under the impression that somebody was, because it was like somebody was living in there, like currently. So
Okay.
at that time, currently.
So at what point did you decide to go over to the trailer?
During one of the days when I was getting real hungry, I thought there might be some food in there.
Okay. So you decided to go in there and look?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You had mentioned before that you broke a window out to get into the trailer.
That's correct.
Okay. How did you break out the window?
I don't remember. I don't remember, like, if I put something on it and hit it, or I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember.
There was a welder's cap.
Mm-hmm.
A welder's, like a head protector in the hole, stuffed in the hole. Do you remember anything like that? Could you have used something like that to cover your hand with?
Easily, yeah.
Okay. But you're not sure? If I showed you a picture, it might recall memory?
I remember seeing, like, some welder caps, but I don't remember how I broke the window, regardless of whether there was something in the window or not. I don't remember.
Did you ever cut your hand when you broke the window? Do you remember cutting your hand?
I don't think so. I think I cut my hand during the struggle with the knife.
Okay.
Right there.
You still have a scar of that?
Yeah.
Oh. Mind if I take a picture of that? On your thumb, or?
Yeah.
Is that what you just showed me? That little mark right there? You think that was caused by the
knife closing on my hand.
Oh, during the incident itself?
Yeah.
How bad did it bleed?
I don't remember.
So, you broke the window out of the door, opened up the door, and went in the trailer. Was anyone inside the trailer?
No.
You remember the inside of the trailer?
I don't, not any more than it just being a standard trailer, like thousands of trailer, or, you know, I've been in countless trailers.
Do you remember if it was like really well kept, or if it was kind of disorganized, or?
Kind of moderate, like not over clean or not over dirty, just kind of lived in, not like real clean or not real dirty.
Okay. I'm gonna show you a picture of the what I think is the shop that you were in.
All right.
And just tell me if you recognize it, okay?
All right. That easily could have been it, yeah.
Okay. That's
I
metal.
expected it.
That's made out of metal, so. But that's a big shop that was on the property where the trailer was. So, more likely than not, that was the shop that you're talking about, correct? Okay. So you said it wasn't real clean, but
it wasn't dirty either. It was
okay.
not that dirty.
So you got into the trailer, and was there anything in the trailer that you were going to take, or were you just looking for food?
At first, I was just looking for food, and then I thought there might be a gun in there or something. And I've been like into guns when I was younger, so
Mm-hmm. So what did you have to eat in the trailer?
a bunch of boxes of granola bars.
Okay. Did you make any food? Just ate ready to eat food? Anything else?
Not that I remember. I think that was it.
Okay. And I think you told Detective Wilson that you were in there for like hours.
Probably a long time.
So what were you doing in the trailer for so long? Were you sleeping, or just hanging out looking at stuff, or because that's quite a long period of time, to be quite honest with you.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
It just seems like I was in there for a long time.
Okay. Were you high then?
I'm sure I was, but not like, just maybe in a residual way from lack of sleep. Like REM depression, I was probably up. I don't know. From the time that I left Portland, I left Salt Lake, I probably slept 2 partial nights in like 20-day period or something.
Mm.
Even though I didn't continue using drugs after I left Sue and Calvin. I was probably just, still kind of gone mentally because of the REM deprivation. I would imagine that had an impact, not that it's an excuse or anything, but that's just a legitimate thing, like you could take in consideration in considering my mind at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it takes away from their responsibility, but absolutely that would have an impact on, everything, whatever that would happen.
So I assume you didn't have any spare clothes because you left Calvin and Sue's place. Did you take any clothes? Did you find any clothes to take with you?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Unless I took some clothes that I brought from Salt Lake, maybe.
How about any gloves?
I don't remember having any clothes at all.
Okay. Where did you find the hammer?
I think it was inside of the trailer somewhere.
Was it just laying there? Or?
I think so.
So was it kind of an impulsive?
Yeah.
You said you saw Bob come home.
Yeah.
So were you
the
just
first thing that I found?
Okay, because you kind of knew that he was going to find you in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when what was your frame of mind then? You just didn't want to get caught.
Yeah.
So did you know you were going to attack him as soon as he came in the trailer?
That's what I thought, was that I would hit him and then take his car and leave.
Okay.
I didn't think that he would be able to, it didn't even seem to faze him. The hammer didn't even faze him.
Okay. I think you told Detective Wilson that you hit Bob in the head.
Yeah.
So he was facing you when you hit him with the hammer, correct?
Yeah.
So do you know for sure where you hit him?
In the head.
Okay, because there's a really big gash on his eye, just beneath his eye. Could you have hit him there with the hammer?
Maybe.
Okay. So you said when you hit him with the hammer, it didn't faze him at all. It probably just made him mad.
Probably.
So what happened right after you hit him with the hammer?
He kind of charged toward me, and and I saw the knife on the ground, and I grabbed it really quick, and he was like tackling me, and I pulled out the knife as quick as I could out of the case and everything, and started stabbing him.
So you said it was a Leatherman tool.
Yeah,
So are you sure of that, or you just think that's what it was?
it was either a Leatherman or a Gerber multi-purpose tool.
It was definitely a multi-purpose tool. It wasn't a folding knife,
No.
but it was in a case.
Yeah,
So you actually had to take the case open, remove the device, and then open it up.
yeah.
So a Leatherman tool is you have to open it up and then take a blade out of the
Yeah.
handle itself. So you had to manipulate
Yep.
quite a bit. Do you remember doing that?
I do.
Okay,
Like
so
just briefly, it was like getting tackled and like just super fast. I don't know. It's like, who couldn't even imagine it, but that's exactly what happened.
okay. Was he hitting you?
No, he was like tackling me, like with his arms. So there were no blows being thrown. He was like just coming at me, and then I actually was able to reach down while he's like pushing at me. I opened it up, believe it or not. I opened the whole thing up and started stabbing him, and that's
So was he-
exactly what happened.
Was it like a bear hug? That
Yeah.
Okay, so he had you wrapped up kind of in his arms then?
Kind of. Not all the way though. Like he started pushing towards me, and then
But you were able to open it up,
it was.
and you had mentioned that you stabbed him a bunch of times in the stomach. Was that because you couldn't get higher? Because he had you in a bear hug, or do you remember? Because there was a lot of stab wounds in his stomach.
Probably
Yeah.
because I was like down, like when I went down to pick it up, he's a big guy, and I just started stabbing the first place that I could see, and he kept coming. It didn't it seemed to like it wasn't doing much to him. Obviously it was killing him, but he was a strong man, so yeah.
At what point did he fall down, or did you push him down?
I really don't know. I don't know.
Well, at some point you must have been on top of him.
Maybe at the end, no, I don't know. I don't think. Oh yeah. And then I covered him with some blankets and stuff.
And you
Like at
mentioned,
one point, he stopped pushing towards me, and then I stabbed him maybe 5 more times, and he said, "You're killing me."
was he still
And he
standing then?
stopped. Yeah, and then he was falling. And it's hard to remember, like the exact details, but it just like,
How long did he live then, after you stopped stabbing him?
I don't know, maybe, oh man, maybe 5 minutes or so, maybe.
Quite a while then.
Yeah.
Because 5 minutes is quite a while if you're
Yeah,
watching something like that.
yeah, maybe.
Was he
'Cause
talking?
The reason I think that's because that's when I think that I started smelling like feces and urine.
Oh, okay.
So I think that he was deceased at that point, but he may have died before that.
Did he say anything after he fell down?
No.
So he only just said, "You're killing me," when you were
Yeah.
fighting with him.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing he said?
Yeah.
Never say anything else?
No.
So after you thought he was dead, and you smelled urine and
Sorry.
feces,
Yeah.
you stuck around for a while.
I did.
Okay. Why did you stick around?
Oh, then a panic. I don't even know what was going through my mind. I can try to think of it and I don't even know. I was scared. Obviously I was really scared. I think did they hear like a horn blast in the house that night? Do you know?
Who?
The people that were living in the house.
Why do you ask that?
I'm just wondering. I don't know. I don't know.
Where would the horn blast come from?
Like when I was driving away, I honked the horn in his car.
Oh, accidentally?
Yeah, I think accidentally, but maybe
So you were in his trailer for a little while after it happened.
Yeah.
And I think you said he took his wallet and his ID and did you take anything else out of the trailer? Take some food with you?
Probably some granola bars.
Okay. Anything else? Cup, perhaps?
Not that I remember.
Okay, just
There's
food. Where did you find his car keys at?
in his pocket.
So you dug through his pockets and grabbed his wallet, grabbed his keys. Take any money?
There was some money in his wallet, but I don't know how much. It was like maybe $30 or something, 20, 30, $40.
Okay. Did you take anything out of the wallet and leave it there?
Not that I remember.
Okay. So you eventually left the trailer, and you must have gone back to the shop, correct?
Yeah.
There was some barbecue sauce and pickles and mustard, I think, and a bunch of other like condiments and some meat that like it had been taken out of a freezer.
Mm-hmm.
It was staged in the shop.
It was what? Sorry.
Like it was staged. It was like set on the floor, like it was put there intending for someone to come back and get it later or something. Do you remember that kind of stuff?
Probably.
Can you picture that?
Yeah, probably.
That must have. I mean, assuming that must have come out of the trailer. Do you
I
know?
don't think so.
Would it have come from the shop?
Yeah.
Where did you find that stuff in the shop?
I don't remember, but I wouldn't have taken.
I'm going to show you a picture of that stuff too, so that it might help you recall. This was in the shop.
There might have been a freezer somewhere.
Do you think there was a freezer in the shop? I mean, were you intending to maybe eat that there while you were staying in the shop, or you just don't remember?
I don't remember. I probably did eat some stuff in that shop or something,
Okay.
but I don't remember.
Is it possible that you brought that stuff from the trailer and like left it there while you were taking things out of the shop to leave?
I don't think I would have taken it from the camper to the car, to the camper. I mean, to the shop, and then take it out of the car.
It wouldn't make sense,
and
would
put
it?
it into the shop.
Yeah.
No.
So it's likely you might have found this in the shop.
In the shop.
Yeah. So you did you back the car over to the shop to load it up, or were you carrying everything from the shop over to the car?
I think I pulled it over by the door. Pulled the car over by the door.
And you took some tools, a welder, Dremel tool, things like that,
Yeah.
and put it in
Car.
in the car or in the
Yeah,
trunk?
in the car.
In the
Oh,
passenger.
I'm not sure exactly where I put it. Probably.
Okay. And this.
Both.
Okay. This car this Bob's car that you took, it was a red car.
Yeah,
And you had mentioned that it was a Chevy Impala.
that's my belief.
Okay, that's your belief. So it's my belief it was a different kind of a car, but it was red. Okay. And if I showed you a picture of that, do you think you'd remember?
Probably.
Okay, there's one. There's another.
With the tire.
Not yet.
Thunderbird?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it.
Let me show you. I'll show you a picture of the inside. Maybe the driver's compartment. Maybe that might spark a memory for you. It looks like it was a manual transmission. This is Bob's car.
I don't remember whether it was manual or automatic.
Okay. But it was definitely a red car.
Yep.
Okay. This is Bob's car that was taken from his property when you left. And you had mentioned on your way south, after you left Bob's house,
Yeah.
after this all had happened, you left Bob's property that night, like within hours after killing him, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And do you remember, I know it's going to be hard for you to recall, but do you remember what time of the day this happened between you and Bob? 'Cause it was summertime, so it was probably light until about 9 o'clock at night.
then it's hard to estimate because it seems like sometime between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m.
So it was still light out then?
A little bit,
Okay.
I think.
And you'd mentioned when you drove down to Portland, you were headed down to Portland to do what? There's a couple
I was
options.
trying to go to Salt Lake. I was just trying to go
You head back home.